Welcome to the Non-Wing Worldwide Podcast, hosted by Drake York.
We go to the infield to Drake York.
Thanks a lot, Chap.
This is the Non-Wing Worldwide Podcast.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to this edition of Non-Wing Worldwide. I'm your host, Drake York, joined today by the legendary T-Mez, Thomas Meseraull. Thomas, how's it going today?
I'm pretty good. Just got done driving back from the Eastern Storm.
Yeah, and you're coming off Midget Week too, so it's been a busy couple weeks for you. So tell us how Midget Week went and how Eastern Storm went. I know Eastern Storm went pretty darn good for you for the races you did run.
Yeah, Midget Week went pretty well. That was like 10 races ago, Drake. I got to use my brain here. Midget Week did not go well, actually. We struggled with just some mechanical issues. We got that Ford prototype that Engler's been working on. Engler built a motor basically around the FR9 cylinder head that Ford has. So Ford has nothing to do with this. This is Tim Engler's baby. And we just had a bunch of electrical issues. It's been kind of a bummer because everything Tim's done has been flawless, and we just keep kind of running into issues out of his hands, Dave's hands, my hands. You know, I drive race cars, and we don't get a lot of time on the track. You know, you get practice, qualify if you're with USAC, a heat race, and a feature, and so we just don't get a lot of chances on the track to like see if this thing's right or just run the thing. You know, so kind of had some issues with that. Ended up running the Toyota midweek. I think we ran 5th at Putnamville, and you know, the USAC scene is super tough right now. I mean, midgets are so tough. Everybody has, you know, just awesome equipment. That's all I can really say about that is like in comparison to your sprint car world. You know, in sprint cars, it doesn't matter what V8 you have. You just have to have a V8. You know, it could be a Donna Ott, it could be a Speedway, a Ryder, a Claxton, a Mopar, a Chevy, you know, whatever. With the midget deal, there's like 2 motors, the Toyota and the SR11, and there's 25 Toyotas, and they all make 355 horsepower, and the SR11 makes like right around, almost, believe it or not, the same exact horsepower. And so it's just like, it's tough out there. Everybody has good equipment, everybody has good cars, you know, so we kind of brought the Ford on, hoping that we could get a little something different out of it, you know, because it's feeling like an IROC race out there. But we didn't have a whole lot of success with Midget Week. But, you know, it's always fun to get out there and see the fans and go racing. But then we ended up traveling to Pennsylvania. We had 1 day off, kind of 2 days off. It rained the last night, but I was actually pulling into the track as they canceled it at like 2:30. So then, you know, we had like a day and a half to be in Pennsylvania and racing on a Tuesday. Went up there and did some. Do you need to talk? Should I take a break, Drake?
No, this is great. I love hearing it. They come here to see you, not me.
I can just keep rolling on. Hey, honey, can you grab the GoPro? I need to actually get this for my TeamAZ TV because I need to do recaps maybe or something. You know, having time has just been tough lately. You know, before Midget Week and the Eastern Storm, I think I had raced like 9 nights and 2 weeks. You know, like it went from raining and not racing to just bam. I've raced probably 20 races in the last month, easy, doing some double duties in there with Midget Week, and so it all kind of blurs in, you know, having time. I haven't even had time to update my TeamAZ TV and edit videos. I seriously have like 10 videos, and I was on my way here doing that and like going through memory cards, trying to like, I grouped up memory cards because I run 3 cameras, right? And so then like going through and just trying to find stuff and dates, everything's on dates, you know, like, okay, May 28th. This is the date that I need to, you know, that was the day I edited today, was a memorial race. Go check that out on TeamAZ TV at YouTube. Actually, go check it out right here. Thanks to Drake, you know, you can just go click the link right here on the channel. That's why I'm here, actually. I don't have a lot of time to do interviews lately with people like podcasts and stuff. And to be honest, like I blow everybody off. my time is so valuable because I just don't have any, So excited to be doing this for Drake though, because he's been on me to do this, and I like to do things for my friends. Drake's one of my friends. We see him at the racetrack. All the people at the racetrack just become your friends. Like I don't know Drake from anything, but he's been going to all these races for 2-3 years. How long has it been? You've been working with Flo.
This is my 4th year.
4th year, so 4 years, and then like boom, now Drake York is just kind of part of the family. We're all at the racetrack. We had a couple days off, and I spent a couple days, and Logan CV and his girlfriend were out there because we just end up being friends with these people you travel the country with, Drake included, and all the racers. So anyways, back to Eastern Storm. So we ended up going back to Eastern Storm. I've been kind of on a roll with the Chris Dyson, Shawn Michaels combo. Shawn Michaels wrenches a car for Chris Dyson. Chris Dyson is a SCCA racer, has won the Trans Am points, I think the last year or two, maybe in a row, and is awesome in the road race series. Well, he bought a Silver Crown car, a Midget. He was kind of racing it a little bit himself, crashed at the Indy Mile, about hurt himself, and then just kind of like gave the reins to whoever else Shawn wanted to put in the car. And so Shawn kind of puts all the heroes in the car, and I'm the lowest man on the totem pole of those heroes: Larson, Sunshine, Bacon, just all the heroes, and Macri. That's a couple of the name visors at the shop, today. But yeah, so Shawn has an on-wing sprint car. He's PA posse. Shawn Michaels himself won a bunch of wing races. I think he has over 100 410 wing wins in PA. He was in the Zemco car, in the Hefner car, flipped out of the ballpark several places because those guys are crazy. They run the half miles all the time. But anyway, so show up to PA, run in a PA posse car. Basically, his best friend is Michael Hefner, and it's game on. These guys don't mess around. He's got nothing but good horsepower under the hood of a Maxim with some brand new FK shocks. He just switched from Penske's to FKs, and the week was really good. We were fast right out of the box. We usually kind of struggle at Bridgeport. Grandview, and we were pretty good at Grandview. We actually were right up front the whole night. We just kind of like, if it was a 30-lap race, I run third. It was a 40-lap race, I ran sixth. Anyways, then the next night we went on to probably our best track of the night, and all I ended up doing was a little bit of TeamAZ TV because it rained out. We got to the track and it rained out. That was sad. It was sad for the fans because we had so many people there. It was crazy kind of to get rained out that late in the night, but hopefully those guys sold some hot dogs. We almost won that show the year before, so we were pretty bummed out about that. Then we went to Big Diamond, and man, I was pretty good at Big Diamond. Typically I haven't been much of a qualifier, but with that Don Ott that those guys have, I've been qualifying right in the invert, and that's so much of it with the sprint car deal. I feel like, there's like 10 good cars, maybe not even that, and really only 4 or 5 of them are hired driver teams. And I feel like I'm a top 10 driver, but I'm just not a part of those teams. And so when I go drive the Dyson stuff, it's just, all the good stuff, the big motor, all the tie bolts, carbon body, all the good stuff. I mean, it's just, if you want to run with Bacon and Grant and Kyle Cummins and Leary and Moles, I mean, these guys, go look at the AME team. I mean, their stuff is like, and so is, the 4-car and Brady's. And so, like, if you're not sitting in that stuff, it's going to be hard to beat those guys. But with the Michaels deal, man, he brings the best, and he expects the most out of me. He puts a lot of pressure on me. A lot of times I'm a little high strung when I'm driving that thing because I'm expected to do really good. And it's tough because he's a driver. And so he critiques me like, we go to Big Diamond, we qualified good, made the invert, start 4th, boom, I get the lead. we kind of had been missing when the track goes away, and so we like threw the book at it and we got the thing tight. And I led a bunch of laps, and then Axum just kind of snuck by me and gave one away. So Sean wasn't too thrilled about that, and kind of laid it out play for play on what I did wrong. And I don't get that a lot, like nobody tells me what I do wrong. Everybody's just like, yeah, T-Mez, like love T-Mez TV, love your interviews. You're a gasser, way to go. But not with Sean, so that was tough. We run second, and like it's like a win, but it wasn't a win. So we went on to, what was last night? Williams Grove.
Yeah, it was Williams Grove after Big Diamond.
Yeah, Williams Grove. Williams Grove was man, that place is so just treacherous in a non-wing car. And of course it rained, and we thought it was going to rain out, and it didn't, and that left for some juicy conditions. And like I said, this Donut that the 20 car has is a ripper, and we put down a lap. I drew early that night. I actually had one of the crew guys, Jeff, his girlfriend drew for us. She had no idea how to draw. We're like, here's the ball. Here's what you do. I think I might have learned something. Okay, I go over there. I say, Spridge. Spridge is like, tell me when, and I get when. I mean, like, seriously, like, just roll the thing, spit the number out, give it to me. She watched it go around and around and around, and I'm just like, oh, come on already. And then, boom, spit out a 4. I was like, oh. So we went out early. We were like third to go out, and we ended up ripping a good lap off on a juicy Williams Grove. You can check that out on TeamAZ TV. I had the in-car shot. The one night, I didn't run cameras the whole time, but I put the camera on because I had a good feeling. The footage is epic there, and we ended up quick time with a new track record at Williams Grove. We were so pumped about that because that ended up being the highlight for the week. I think we ran 5th in the feature that night. We started 6th. Really just kind of had brake problems. Like, that place races like no other. It kind of makes the cars race like a Silver Crown car. Like long straightaways, you really got to get on the brakes, kind of set the nose down, and like slow the thing down, back it in. And we just kind of had brake issues, and I couldn't really do that.
And then you got to do one to watch at Port Royal, so it all worked out in the end.
Yeah.
You outstood me. I wasn't thrilled about that afterwards, but I was happy you did better than me.
Well, it was that was kind of fun, then so that was the end of my week. Port Royal, Sean runs Brady Bacon with the Silver Crown car, so I didn't get to run Port Royal, but I went out there because Madeline's family's from there, and it was kind of cool. Got my USAC hat, and got to do a little piece with Drake York. And it turned out pretty good. I went and screenshotted it. I'm going to share that eventually.
Sweet. Well, I think you summarized that week better than I could, even for myself. But let's get into your story, because knowing fans out here, they really don't know the T-Mez story. And you started out in California on the pavement, actually. But what was your initial draw to just racing in general?
I don't know, just always loved cars. My dad's a car guy. My grandpa's a car guy. He was always buying cars, flipping cars. So kind of growing up, that was what my dad did. He'd buy a car that needed a motor and stuff a motor in it and sell it, And so then we just kind of had hot rods. We got into like quads and like dirt biking, and I had got a really nice helmet, and we were at Hollister. My brother got in trouble. And so my dad, to make him feel like he was in trouble, let me and him, we went on a special ride, right? And we come up this hill, and he's like, here, just go up this hill and I'll follow you. Well, he turned it over at the bottom. He was on a 3-wheeler. It was like a 70. I was like 10. And the thing flipped over on me, and it cracked the helmet. I came back all scratched up, and my mom was like, nope, we're selling the quads. We're done. We're done with that. And then we just kind of got into racing because it was safer, had a helmet and cage, and kind of found a quarter midget and got into that. But once I was racing quarter midgets, that's like all I did, from the time I was I think I started 9 until the 2000 to early 2000. That's all I did, from like 1990. The whole decade of the 90s was race quarter midgets with my dad, my mom. It was kind of a family thing. And then I just I guess it's all I ever knew. And, like we boated, we had a boat, we dirt biked, and like my friends surfed or skated or, whatever, like all the options are there in California. And I just was always drawn to racing, the speed, just it was its own place, like where could you go where people showed up on a Saturday to go like hang out, and like you built all these connections and just the speed and everything. I don't know. My parents, had a little bit of money to get me into midgets eventually, and then once they got a divorce and it kind of like stopped happening, I then moved to Indiana, just knowing like, okay, I need to get to Indiana. That's where all the racing is. Like California, it's not really the same. So, I moved to Indiana and just kind of started crewing for somebody and telling everybody I drove midgets and I was good, and nobody gave a shit. So eventually, I built my own car, and man, I only ran my car like 10 times, 12 nights. And I tore some stuff up, but just needed people to see, like, okay, this kid is no joke. When I came back here, I was in my 20s. So I was young 20s, 25. And yeah, had a little help. Had a friend from back home bought a motor and let me use it, and I put a car together. And just kind of me and my dad, when we moved out here, we had a trailer we towed all our stuff out with, and so we kind of were planning on getting a sprint car, but that didn't happen. But he still had the trailer, so we just kind of everybody put it in, and I ran for a year, and then kind of just got my name out there. And that was that. Once I had my name out there, I got rides. Like once people saw my dedication to my sport and how I wasn't going to give up on this, even though I didn't have the money. I didn't have the money. I had to beg, borrow, and steal to get here, but I always gave it back if I stole it. So I never really stole it, I guess.
So you mentioned all that stuff, but let's break it down bit by bit. You started in midgets in California, and that was all on the pavement, right? You didn't really do much dirt stuff in California, did you?
Yeah, not really. So I went from quarter midgets to micros to a pavement modified. We were trying to go to NASCAR land, and ran a modified for a year, and we did really good. I think I won 12 shows out of like 26. And then that we had some decent sponsors. Great America Towing and Galdridge Construction had been helping us. And so they had got in, like they were going to put in like 50, 60 grand to help me go late model racing. Well, it didn't turn out to be that. It ended up being like 20 grand. And my parents really couldn't afford it. We ran, I think 10 shows with the pavement late model, and we kept having motor issues, and it just ran them out of money. They ended up selling that, and I got into a midget through a friend, hopped in a not so good midget, and my dad sold the late model and traded it off for a combo car midget that we could run pavement and dirt on. And because it was kind of like right back to home. We grew up racing quarter midgets, we ran micros, and then we were trying to go stock car racing, and it just didn't pan out. Like they just didn't have the funds. And so we ended up back in the midgets, and so then at that point I was running a pavement modified, and like Madera, Stockton 99, Altamont, Irwindale, all the pavement tracks, and so then like it was like a no-brainer. Like got the midget, and they were running kind of a combo series with BCRA, and I got to go to Madera and Stockton 99 and Altamont with the midget. And so then it was like, boom, game on. Okay, these guys racing these tracks I already been racing at for 2 years. Let's do it. And then just kind of along the way, you acquire some dirt stuff and parts and people trying to help and throw you tires. And next thing you know, I'm running dirt and pavement. We won the point series a year. And then we tried to do some USAC racing. And then just kind of fell in love with open wheel racing at that point. Ran a modified, ran a stock car, get in a midget, was really good, on the pavement side. And then eventually kind of figured it out on the dirt side. just always assumed that I was going to NASCAR lane and I was going to be somebody on pavement. And so I didn't want to hurt myself on dirt. And then one of the sponsors, that Galdridge Construction, Bradley Galdridge, he's actually moved back to Indiana racing 305s now, but he was running a midget and he was, had watched me race, and he was younger than me. And so like I'm running a midget, and he drives by me and is driving away. And I'm like, dude, that's the kid that you've been racing with. That's the kid that you've helped come up, like he was, they had a little quarter midget deal. My dad built motors. And so like, we kind of took care of their quarter midgets, and then all of a sudden I'm watching him, he's driving away from me because I'm basically not on the gas. And I'm like, cause I was a little on the scared side, cause I didn't want to flip the thing, and I'm like, okay, they go yellow, and on a restart, I was just like, okay, let's do this. Screw it. I'm wide open. And then like, boom, light turned on and I turned into a dirt guy.
That's fascinating to hear about, because I feel like we don't see a lot of pavement to dirt guys these days. And you mentioned, you didn't want to get hurt on dirt because you thought you were going to NASCAR. What was the point you realized, okay, I have to go to dirt to make this open wheel deal work? And when was the first time you ran on dirt in a midget?
So we ran, actually my first time in a midget was dirt. We went to Antioch, and it was a V4 Challenger, no power steering. And but I had ran a micro, so like it wasn't terrible, but ultimately we just wanted to go pavement racing because that's where we thought we were going. My parents and my background, we're going to NASCAR land. I think I'm accepted, but I didn't make it to NASCAR land, and that's okay because I do love the dirt. It's more of a sprint race, and I feel like my ADD is more of a sprint race kind of mindset,
I'm the same way. I totally get it. So let's jump to 1999. Probably at the time, your greatest career achievement. You ran third at Pikes Peak behind Ryan Newman and Jason Leffler. And, it's baby T-Mez, no goatee. You look like you're 12 in the ESPN victory lane. Just tell us about what that was like as a young guy run behind, even then, two greats of the sport.
Well, I mean, that's what I'm talking about. I thought I was going somewhere because I am talented. I've always been good at what I did, and that's just by going to races, and we've just kind of learned how to do this. Me and my dad figured out how to go fast, and then here we are at Pikes Peak in a good car, and I'm, like running right with two of the best. Two of the greatest on pavement, other than Dave Steele, like who else is there, right? But it just, pavement was dying, and that wasn't the cards for T-Mez, so I think it just took me a minute to just get comfortable with and accept this dirt thing. I grew up in California where we didn't watch dirt racing. Like I didn't really get the whole dirt racing thing. I went back to Indianapolis to race mini Indy, like quarter midgets, right? And I grew up with racing. My competitor was Chuck Gurney Jr., a little rim rider. And rim rider. Like, oh, whatever. It never clicked. I didn't know. I was a kid. Okay. So then we go to mini Indy, and like people are trying to get like Chuck Gurney's autograph, like Big Chuck, cause he's like a real race car driver. And I'm just like, that's just Chuck, he was kind of grumpy old man, and so at that point I realized like, okay, then, just like I said, I was a kid, and then I realized the dirt world, what is going on. And at the end of the day, man, I was just trying to go racing. It really didn't matter what I was what I raced. I was just trying to go racing. I was just trying to go riding dirt bikes, just go banging wheelies on street bikes. It didn't matter. Whatever got me there, whoever had the money to fund it, I'm there. Sign me up. I'm your guy. Let's go do it. And that mentality has taken me to Indiana and open wheel racing because, there's a bunch of guys that own dirt sprint cars here, and there's a bunch of tracks that run Friday, Saturday, Sunday, all summer long. It's $1,500 a win, sometimes 2, sometimes 3. You want to go to the big boy shows, you go to USAC shows. See these guys? Theirs are 5,000, 6,000. You know, like $500 a start. So get a ride, find some. I'm gonna call him rich guy for lack of better words. Okay, rich guy. Rich guy to me is a guy that owns a sprint car that's willing to let T-Mez hop in his race car and give me 40% of the purse at the end of the night, 50 if we win. If that's the deal, you know. Once I kind of found that was going on here, I was like, okay, yep, let's go. I'll hitchhike across the country. Let's just do this. And then, you know, I got here and I'm like, hey, I'm T-Mez. I won midget races. I race with good guys. I'm good, you know. And they're like, yeah, you're just a midget guy. Sorry about your luck.
Man, that's harsh. That's harsh.
I know, but you know what? It's okay because I don't blame anybody. You know, like you gotta, if you get an opportunity, jump in it and don't let it go. You know, and so I moved here hoping for an opportunity, and it didn't really just get thrown at me. I had to just lay floors with my dad because we lay carpet and tile and hardwood and save up money to build a car. And in doing that, I made connections with Joe Devin and Bernie at Indy Race Parts, who has been a big part of my career. Both those guys, just going and hanging out at the shop for a year at Bernie's, like bugging people, like meeting people walking in the door, like going to Joe Dev's. I bought a brand new car because growing up, we bought a brand new, if you like, you go to the quarter midget track, you go buy whatever the fast car is, and you put yourself in it and you try to go win races. You know, you don't go buy the guy that isn't winning's car, right? So I bought a DRC, a brand new car, and put everything else on it was used, but I bought a brand new frame and, you know, gave myself a good opportunity to show everybody what I was capable of. And then that was that, you know, so.
And one thing I found fascinating about that is, you know, I hear it all the time from everybody since I'm from California. And I know that sometimes out there, your opportunities can run dry. You have to come out here. And you said it again and again and again. I have to come out here. What was the point? What was the breaking point for you to say, okay, I have to get out of here and I have to come to the Midwest because I want to be a race car driver?
You know, I think just all my opportunities dried up out there. I was driving for, my parents got a divorce, and that was big too, you know, like that just kind of like was a big, and then the guy I was driving for, he retired, and then like I just didn't have a whole lot going on. And, you know, fortunately my dad was ready to move, and the peak of the market was really big. And he had built a house for like 150, and then it was up to like 450. And so he pulled the plug and sold that house, and we all just kind of moved back to Indy because he knew, you know, so a lot of it was my dad, you know, just pushing me but I was riding street bikes. I was heavily into street bikes, and I was running from cops daily. And it was a game to me. I was upset that my racing career wasn't going anywhere, and I could hop on the bike and just just run from cops, run from everybody. I feel like my camera's off because my hands are never in there. Because I'm used to looking at the GoPro, and I got my phone sideways, and so the camera lens is not here; it's actually right here.
One thing I got to ask though, we talked to Justin Grant about this on the pilot episode, and I asked him because he was 16 when he moved out here. I asked him, was it scary coming out here all by yourself? And he said, no. You obviously had your dad, and how old were you when you moved out here?
I think I was 20, maybe 22, 23. I had friends, you know, racing gives you these friends. I was friends with AJ Fike and Matt Hummel. You know, I grew up with Matt Hummel, and Matt was already back here. He was working on Casey Kane's race cars, you know, like, so I had some people. Racing gives you these people, you know, along the way, friends or not. And so then like, and I knew the end goal was, you know, my best friend at home in California had just bought a place, and it was this little condo, and they didn't let him park his truck outside. And it was like $600,000, and it was $2,500 a month. And I'm just like crunching the numbers. I'm like, okay, yeah, I'm not doing that. I don't want to work my life away for rent, and that's what California is. And so I think I was running from that a little bit too, like, okay, Indiana's cheaper, and slower pace, racing. And then that was just kind of that. I miss dirt biking in the hills the most. I miss riding street bikes in the twisties, although I had kids and then I sold the street bikes because, that's dangerous.
I'd imagine it is. So you come out here, you start to establish yourself. But when was the first time you were able to hop in not only your own race car in Indiana, but what was also your first big opportunity in Indiana to drive for somebody else?
So coincidentally, right when I had got my car ready to go, somebody called me to run a midget. Mark Bush called me to go run his midget at a Power Eye race. It was like Little Belleville and somewhere else. And so the very first weekend that I'm ready to go, like planning to go race my car, I ended up getting a call to run somebody's car. So it was just kind of ironic, but I ended up not running my car, going to running his midget, and making a connection. And then kind of like, it was just all in a week, it was like, boom, all at once, T-Mez, the story of T-Mez was getting ready to be, real. Cause at that point I was Twisting Thomas. That's what they used to call me.
Twisted Thomas. I actually
Twisted
like that.
Thomas.
T-Mez rolls off the tongue, but Twisted Thomas. That's
Twisting Thomas, because apparently I flipped a lot of cars and the cars were twisted.
oh, so it was a bad nickname, is what you're saying. Yeah. Well, it's probably the best that one died out. Was there a certain car owner that you ran for a lot at the start, or was it kind of one of those deals at that time where you would just go to whoever called you to run their race car?
No, it's at the start, you're just clawing at anything that anybody will let you in, and it was even in California, but I did get when I started running in California, I ended up in this Bay Muffler car. Chris Walker from Bay Muffler gave me a lot of opportunities. Me and him didn't always see eye to eye, but he, I drove his car on pavement, on dirt, year in and year out, kind of as a hired gun, and kind of learned the ropes from him, of getting fired for complaining about my, well, this car didn't have a headrest, and I started getting tired. You're a candy ass, you're fired, and then like a couple months later, call him back, like, come on, Chris, they got a race coming up, my dad can't go to. All right, yeah, you can do it, and story after story with the Bay Muffler car. So had a lot of fun there. Bill Ferrari helped out, because that was kind of my next level, where he had a little bit nicer equipment, and he was an old Italian guy. He was an interesting guy. Always had really nice stuff though, and kind of let my dad take care of it all. That's how we met AJ Fike. That guy bought a car off of Fikes, and so it was an old Fike car, and so then the number, he even kept the number. It was a 69 car, all black 69 car with gold leaves. Yeah. And then, once you move here, it's just like you start making connections, and it's taken me a decade to have all the phone numbers that I have, to have all the connections that I have, of just racing Putnamville or Gas City, year in and year out, and making friends with Todd Keene and Paul Hazen. And, and like I said, when in that first year of just hanging out at Bernie's and Joe's, those guys have thrown me rides over and over and over, because those guys have a revolving door of customers that, own these cars, and so then they're like, oh yeah, I'm going to go here. And then, Bernie's like, well, I don't think T-Mez, I just seen T-Mez. He ain't doing nothing this week. Give him a call, or Joe Devin. That's how I got into Paul Hazen's car. And I think even Todd Keene's, and, these guys own DRCs, and they call them up like, oh yeah, we had Casey Schumann in it, but he decided he doesn't want to go racing this weekend. So you got anybody that you can recommend? And then, oh yeah, Thomas is down here, and then the guy's like, oh, well, he's kind of wild. And then Joe's like, well, yeah, but he can win races, and then they're like, bing. oh yeah, hire him, like so. Now I just, like I'm friends with everybody, and like you don't ever quit rides. You try not to burn bridges because these are all people that you're going to be, hoping to drive for eventually, and I think you just try to race people the same way because it goes the same way in that, like you don't want to dirty up any of the good guys because you got to race against them every weekend. But and then it goes as far as the guys that own race cars, man. You got to watch out for those cars too, because even if you want to, like down the road, that could be an opportunity for you, and being classy is a lot better than being trashy at the racetrack.
So what you're saying, and I think it's fair to call you a freelance driver, but
Very.
what you're saying is not only are you having to worry about, do I run the high line here? Do I slide this guy? You're thinking about, I could be driving that car down the road and I don't want to burn that bridge. Does that go through your mind during some of these races?
Well, not always during the races, but I mean, I think at in the era that I was raised in, like um, this here is enough for me to like not chop you, okay? And so like that's all gone now, and you just racing people clean goes a long way. Goes a long way for selling shirts for the car owners, for everybody. Like running people dirty. Like I don't feel like I'm a dirty race car driver, but I have dirtied up a few people along the way, and you know what? People remember that more than anything.
Well said. Let's jump to 2015. Probably one of the greatest achievements of your career. I'd say at the time, definitely. You're in the Modi 66 car. You string together a bunch of good runs with them. Show up to Four Crown of 2015 and pick up your first AMSOIL USAC National Sprint Car win. What did it feel like to not only tame that place, period, but to also get your first national win there?
That place is awesome. It's a unique place in itself, and I've been trying so hard to get USAC wins, and we just never quite could get it done. And then I hooked up with the 66, and he had good equipment, he had good DRCs, and he had a crew chief, and I think that's what I had been missing the whole time. And Donnie Gentry knew how to screw a car into the ground and make it go. And so I actually had won a race. It was like a sprintacular race with Boss the year before in Todd Keene's car. And so I feel like I had gained a lot of speed in Todd Keene's car. We run second there once. We'd run third there. I had run Stan Cortad's car there, probably a dozen times. And so then it just kind of all fell together there, like we actually were running third. They had a red flag. I think Clausen was gone. He got a flat tire. He ended up going to the back, and Donnie came out onto the track, and I'm like, man, this thing just needs the right rear stock more. And then boom, he did a turn here and a turn there, and man, I drove it down into one on the restart, and that thing went in, and instead of just sliding across the track and doing this, I went down there and turned it anyway, and it was stuck, and that was it. It was game on, and a little bit of lady luck. Clausen didn't have enough time to get there because Clausen was coming, but yeah, and back then it was like Eldora, where you got to lay up on the fence and let it eat. And so we killed a ladder, killed a wheel, looked like Justin Grant out there just trying to knock the ladder off the thing. So that was a lot of fun. And then that kind of started, that gave me a reason for people to call and hire. And yeah, now it got me in the history books.
As a USAC winner, not to mention.
Yeah.
Was that the turning point of your career? Because you mentioned it there. A lot more people were willing to call you after you won that Eldora race. Is it safe to say that race right there maybe turned your career around in some ways?
Oh, absolutely. I could say that for sure. I think when once you can win, then it's like door open for all the teams that already have won, know that they're capable, have the equipment. They just need the guys steering the wheel.
So let's now jump from the sprint car stuff over the midget stuff. You've had a really good relationship over the years with RMS Racing. You've really been there since the start. How did that first start out with you and Dave?
Donnie Gentry, actually, he was helping those guys with Dave Darlin, and then they were talking about doing a second car, and things just fall apart and happen for me at the right time. Breakups are tough, but at the other end could be a pretty girl. You know what I mean? So, and for me, it's like things fall apart. I had the deal I was working fell apart for Chili Bowl, and it was a good deal. It was like the Rusty Coons car, but he was borrowing a motor from Joe Dooling, and Joe owned the 63 cars. Well, he just, that was like a year after Clausen had got killed, and he was done. He'd kind of been through the ringer and pulled the plug on it. And so I get a call, in December, and Rusty's like, "Hey man, I don't think I can get a motor for this thing. Everything I had kind of fell apart." And then like a day later, or the day before, maybe, I think Donnie had called and said he had this guy that, was working on building another car, and he think it'd be a good deal for me, and blah, blah, blah. I'm like, well, whatever. He doesn't even have a car. He's like, no, but he'll buy a car. He'll buy a car. So then I turned around and called Donnie back. I'm like, hey, dude, and Donnie already, I think Donnie knew about it, my deal falling apart, and so like, next thing you know, like I'm, introduced to, Matt Estep, or as my Siri calls him, Estep, Matt Estep.
I'll be sure to call him and Dave that next time. But it just seemed like a really good pairing off the bat. I think about you guys winning the Knepper 55 at DeCoin, and then a little while later, you guys won a race at Gateway indoors. When did you know that, hey, this is a pairing that could really work with me and RMS?
It's so I first night out, we win in it, okay, and then he was just starting out. He had no equipment. He ran an indoor race, and Darlin called him for the St. Louis Gateway race, invitational only, and Dave was invited. Well, Dave didn't have a ride, so Dave just started calling everybody that he had driven for. Well, Dave Estep owned a indoor midget. That was it. He owned an indoor midget. It was not even a good one. It was a shitty one. How all those are just shitty indoor midgets. So Dave talks him into buying a dirt car, and he's like, "Oh, Dave Darlin, Double D. Let's go to that." Double D says, "Dave, I'm invited to this. Why don't you?" What about building a car? And Dave Estep is like, yeah, let's do that. Builds a car for Double D, and then in building that, they didn't think they were going to get done in time, so they bought another one, because that's how Dave rolls. And so then he calls me and he's like, well, yeah, I got this other car here. And then I'm like, hey, well, it turns out Joe Dooling was selling his cars because he gave up. And then as the circle turns, I end up driving the car, one of the Rusty Coons cars that he built for the 63 car, Dave Estep bought, before Chili Bowl. So I ultimately ended up in the car I was going to drive after the whole thing went around. And then, and so then it just I don't know. I never imagined it would get like this, Dave. I never imagined we were going to do it like this. I never had it just started out with two cars, and then hey, let's go do another car. And hey, we're going to fly this Australian or this, Kiwi over to go race for us. And then he basically needed more. He needed Toyotas, and he needed all the good stuff. And then all of a sudden I had all the good stuff, and I don't know. It just started a little team that had money to go buy whatever they wanted, if they wanted to. And now it's not a little team.
No, not at all. It's very big. And that leads me to my next question too. You were there at the start, and you talk about, this team basically had nothing, but they had the money to go do whatever they wanted. And I think of all the years that it's been an empire at Chili Bowl with RMS, and then they bring in Justin to be your teammate. What's it been like, not only for you as the driver to see the progression of this race team, but for you personally to be a part of it all?
It's been awesome. I mean, dude, dream come true over here. Like LTD, my friend. That's all I've ever wanted was somebody who gave a shit, and Dave gives a shit, It's different, it's not it's yeah, it's tough because I've never had the equipment I needed that I thought I needed to go win races, And now sometimes I think I'm jinxed by the racing gods because I have everything I could possibly need, and then we can't win races. And then, but maybe that's just racing in general. Like racing is tough. And
Racing is weird.
This midget deal is no joke. This midget deal is no joke.
Yeah, I think anybody could tell you that watches, especially the Not Energy Drink USAC National Midgets. And you talked about it a little bit earlier when you're talking about Midget Week. You, RMS, and Engler have been working on this Ford motor this year. So just take us through the entire process of not only putting this deal together, going out dynoing it, going out and testing it, going out to other races that you guys hadn't planned on running just to get laps in this motor. Just take us through it all, because it's been a bit of a whirlwind over the last couple of months getting this thing good to go.
Well, I mean, it started when I was driving for Briscoe, and that was like 3 years ago. And the chunk of aluminum sat at Tim's forever, and then things fell apart. And then eventually Tim just picked up and wanted to do the project. And so he's been working on it forever. But eventually he got the thing done, and we're down at Tim's dynoing all the time because Tim wants to win. And Dave, because Dave wants to win, and Tim is our best option of tuning our stuff to win because we don't have EFI, we don't have the fueling is all just off of how you fuel it, and manual fuel injection. There could be a lot there or a lot to lose, and so we spent a lot of time down there. And then Tim, when he got the thing done, Dave had a Chili Bowl car. And he gave a car to Tim to just put in so they can dyno it. So, and then once it was running and done, next thing you know, like we're at the track, like, hey, T-Mez, you want to go test this thing? And so then we were down at Circle City. And, and then the thing has just always just been impressive, ultimately. And eventually, hey, you want to run this thing? And so then eventually we put it in our car. We ran it a couple races at DuQuoin, and the thing absolutely ripped. And then when we put it in the car for Chili Bowl, we messed something up with the wire harness, and then we just kind of have been chasing some issues, but we kind of knew we would. It's a prototype, it's been quite the road though, because you just along the way, like little things break, and then you have to like Dick Tracy figure out what it is, and we know the Toyotas, and we have all the parts for the Toyotas. Well, there is no parts for this thing, like there is no wire harnesses available. It's all one-off made parts. So it's been tough, like because the thing like runs so good some nights, and then some nights it doesn't, and like we just have been chasing stuff. So the prototype thing has been very difficult. We went to Midget Week and really felt like we had egg on our face, and everybody did, and there's not a whole lot you could do about it other than just kind of keep going through the paces until we get it right. And at this point we're in too deep. People are like blowing me, like, you need to get rid of that thing, you need to do this. Like, hey, I'm lucky enough to drive the damn thing, okay? Period. I'm lucky to drive the damn thing. Thank you, Tim. Thank you, Dave. Thank you. I will run through all the hoops to make this thing run, and eventually we're going to make the thing run. And, hopefully we go back to Eldora and we win another 4 Crown. I get me a midget side of it, because when we get it running, it's game on. It is so game on. Everybody's seen that at Lawrenceburg. It's game on when we get this thing running, but it's been a learning curve. I'm pretty good with setup, and I set the car up, and it moved weight around and it changed stuff on the car. And so like my Toyota package is pretty good, but then putting that in changed a lot of aspects that I really wasn't ready for. I thought we were going to put this thing in. It was going to be like, oh yeah, wheelies, just banging wheelies and ripping by people. Well, hasn't quite been like that. But as in life, you're just trying to do your best. And Tim's been doing a great job, and Dave has been. And we're actually getting ready to go run the car tomorrow at a local race in Charleston, Illinois, a Thursday show. And then we're going Power Eye race. And then we're going to, I think, Jacksonville Friday. Just to, I think we got it all figured out. And, but Tim's has had it on the dyno a bunch, but you really can just run the dyno up. You just make pulls. Like, so if you don't know anything about the chassis dyno, car's running at 1500 RPM. Let's see, at 1500 RPM, you gas it, it revs up to 85, and then once it gets there, you lift, and that's a pull. Like a wide open pull. If it was a street car, you would do it in probably like third gear, maybe even fourth gear. If it was a 6-speed, you'd probably do it in a fourth gear pull. So just low RPMs, and just get in it and see what the thing makes power wise. Well, we run these things wide open for 15 laps at a time, and that's hard to duplicate. So off to the racetrack to put in work.
Well, it's funny you mentioned all the hoops you've had to go through to get this motor ready, because I talked to Dave. By the way, for anybody that hasn't met Dave Eastep and you're only thinking T-Mez is talking good about him because he's trying to keep a ride, he's not, because Dave Eastep is one of the nicest guys to ever. But Dave was telling me at Putnamville this year during Midget Week, I forget how he started talking about it, but his quote was basically, well, you got to try stuff to be fast. I'm sure there's 100 million things in racing that people wanted to try, and everybody said it was crazy, and it worked. So it seems like you guys at least are on the right track to get this Ford motor at least competitive. We saw that a couple nights out of you guys during Midget Week. When you guys could get it going, it was competitive. So how do nights like that build your confidence in this motor?
It has been, like we've had a couple nights where the thing is just absolutely amazing, and then the gremlins come, and then it slowly just starts to change. And so it's great on Midgets. Is just so tough, it's hard to be confident, to be completely honest. Like, Midgets is just tough, and you have to qualify good, and if you can't qualify, then it doesn't even matter. Well, we've been qualifying good. We went to Belleville and qualified good, and so I feel like the nights that the thing's been running, we've been qualifying better. And so that already is like, if I can make the invert, it is game on. Like I drive by, we were really high in the passing masters last year. I do a good job driving race cars. It's just catching that invert and starting up front. I mean, look at Emerson Axum this week. He just kept catching that invert, and they were fast. I'm not taking anything away from that, but like catching that invert is so big, starting up front. Justin Grant, how many times does he catch that invert and have a good night? Always.
It's a lot.
Yeah, always. So that is, and Brady Bacon, same thing, like I'm not trying to call anybody out because I'm the same way.
We're all human. So we've talked a lot about racing on here, but there's a whole other side to you. I think there's like at least 5 or 6 different other things you really like doing other than driving race cars. One of them is drifting.
Yeah.
First off, how in the world did you get into drifting?
Got into drifting, kind of my rides had tapered off here, and I had an ex that told me that I shouldn't be racing dirt cars. And then I moved to Tulsa for like a month and a half until she divorced me. And then when I went back, I didn't have anything going on because I kind of quit my deals, or I was told to quit my deals. And so then like I bought a 240Z because I had a friend, my best friend back home, like, hey, what kind of car could I buy that I could just like do donuts in? Like, oh, you just want to do donuts? Yeah, go get a 240. So I went and bought a 240, and then that was kind of game on. Like that opened it up to the like this whole world, like because 240s is like the mecca of drifting, and so then all you do is type in 240 SX and like all this stuff. It's everything shows up, right? All this stuff that maybe you don't want to see. Well, if you type in 240 SX, all this stuff pops up of this whole culture of drifting and getting sideways. And I took my RC car lot, okay, because whatever I do, I'm big into. Like if I'm gonna do it, I'm gonna do it, right? So I had a bunch of RC cars that I raced and nitro stuff and whatever. Well, I sold everything and I eBayed it, and I think I ended up with like $2,000. I was driving for Baldwin at the time, picked up a win, ran second the next night. Found a car for 30. He was wanting $4,000 for it. Bought it for $3,700, and then that was it. Like then I'm like watching videos, like okay, like back roads drifting and e-braking and throwing it sideways, and the next thing you know, like winter hits, and I'm out there, and like honestly, I feel like that. If there wasn't a drift car, you wouldn't have T-Mez. Like it's not. If you want to learn how to drive, if you want to race cars, you have to be good at racing cars. Like you have to understand everything about them. Like and I've always just had this fascination with like if I got on a quad, I want to run it to the ragged edge, whether it's doing wheelies or sideways or on two wheels or climbing hills, and everything I've ever had, that's just how I was, and learning how to, manhandle a street car in parking lots or just kind of wherever, at the end of the day, I taught myself how to stunt drive in a bought car that I had, and now like it's game on, because I learned how to drift. And really drifting is, I feel like it's got a bad name because at the end of the day, it's like running the car at the verge of spinning out every which way, and so like it takes talent to just control something that's out of control. That's what I've always wanted to do, like just control the uncontrollable. And I feel like sometimes the movie, like I like space movies and stuff, like I'm just driving a robot, like I'm the guy that's wheeling the robot, and my robot's a race car.
And it's funny to hear you talk about, I shouldn't say funny, but interesting to hear you talk about all the comparisons you make between driving your drift car and running a race car. But in a sense, is that kind of a stress reliever for you to go out and drift in? Maybe if you have a bad week and you just take your car out and you go drift for a little bit, does that kind of relieve the stress?
I absolutely putting the helmet on, that's what I loved about street bikes, is just like put the helmet on. Once you got the helmet on, then you're in your own world. The racing thing is the same, but the racing thing is not the same because you're in front of a bunch of people. The pressure is on. Your time is limited on the track. So the drifting is a lot more wild because there's no lines, there's no apex, there's no like, it's just kind of keep in drift. That's the goal.
Man, well said. And what else do you like about drift? Because I feel like you're not letting us on to the whole experience of why you like it. I know you took a couple of our Flow employees out in the drift car a couple times. Do you enjoy like scaring people in your drift car sometimes?
Yes, I originally I thought I was going to get to the track more, and then you can have passengers. So that was like I wanted to do that. I don't get to the track as much as I want. It's hard to do that kind of stuff because you got to be able to schedule things, and I don't even know what I'm doing next weekend because I'm ADD and I don't schedule things very well. I'm not very organized. I'm busy editing on Mondays and Wednesdays, and I'm usually racing Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. So my time is very limited. I wish I could explain drifting to you better, Drake, but it is pretty awesome. I loved it because you can just kind of like, if it rains, it's a drift day for me. If it's snowing, it's a drift day. If you're having a bad day, it's a drift day. So
Every day's a drift day.
everything,
But
it can be.
it can be. It can be. But glad you still decided to join us out at the racetrack. Another thing you're really big in is obviously TeamAZ TV. I think you started that. What was it? Last year? Was it last year when you started it?
Yep. Yeah, started doing the T-Mez TV last year. Just trying to be cool, self promote, I guess, and I have a really good opportunity for driving race cars, and throwing the cameras on it is something that I've always done. Before I moved to Indiana, I rode stunt bikes and did videos in stunt bikes. And so film was kind of always in my vision. And I've always GoPro'd stuff, but I didn't know anything about editing. And then I just finally figured out that I needed to do something. Like I'm so close to not being a race car driver because I just don't make a whole lot of money. Okay. And so then like, how do I sustain this life that I want to live, that I love to live? I have to give my fans more in hopes to maybe sell some more shirts, was what I thought, And so I started the YouTube thing, and I'm lucky enough to hang GoPros off the race cars and do my YouTube thing at the racetrack. And it's been doing really well. I think I got 14,000 subscribers now, and my videos get 5,000, 10,000 views. Some of them have 20, 30. So it's going really well. I wish I was a better editor. I wish I had an editor. I was going through footage today racing my bumper shot. Like, I put the rear camera on my bumper shot, I push record, it records everything. And I pretty much, when I'm editing, I have a vision of how this thing's going to go, right? And so if I use that shot, I do. If I don't, I don't. But I don't have time to look at all the footage. And so I delete so much good footage. And I was watching the bumper shot today, like telling my girlfriend, I was like, man, if I knew somebody, I could give this bumper shot to somebody and they could create their own. Like, it's so good. It's so good because I'm the cameraman, and sometimes there's a lot going on behind. There's always a lot going on behind me. So it's pretty cool what you do get, what you don't get. I wish I had more time to edit. Somebody sees this who's into editing, man, I need to get somebody to help me out on it, because I feel like when I first started, it was like, okay, put a camera in the car and go, try to self-promote yourself a little bit better. And then it's turned into this whole, like, some of the footage, Drake, is just absolutely stunning. And I just throw it away because I don't have room for it.
Man, that's crazy to think about. I never thought about that aspect of it. But you talk about 14,000 subscribers, is it?
Yeah.
And that is no small feat, whether you've been around for as long as you have, or even just any channel on YouTube for that matter. Has it surprised you how much TeamAZ TV's taken off?
Absolutely. Absolutely. So when I started it, I thought, okay, if I could get this thing monetized in a year, that would be great. Well, man, by the time it was like 3 months in, I was able to monetize it, and I know nothing about it. So somebody had to tell me. Somebody was like, did you get monetized? I'm like, oh, I haven't even looked into it. I just edit videos and I put them on there. And they're like, seriously? You only need 1,000 subscribers and 4,000 hours of view time. No, it was 1,000 hours of view time and 1,000 subscribers. And I already had that by like double, and so like got myself monetized, got the ball rolling. And then now at the racetrack, like it's definitely done more than I thought it would. Like I have people, old guys, just people that hated me love me now. The videos turn out pretty good. I'm not that great of an editor. I don't have time. But I'm trying to keep this going. I post on Mondays and Wednesdays, sometimes on Sundays, because it tries to tell me to. And I'm having a lot of fun with it. It's some of the shots that I get are just absolutely crazy. Like I'm impressed with what's going on. You know, like I watch the stuff, I watch people's stuff on, you know, like Swindell Speed Lab. Their stuff is amazing. They got a guy that does it all, and he's awesome. He's so good at what he does. And I'm over here with a GoPro holding it, one guy, you know, with my GoPro, talking to a GoPro. So I feel pretty good about what I've done with it all, and how it is going, because it has changed my life for sure.
And you should definitely be proud of yourself because it's impressive content you put out there. How long did it take for you to kind of figure out, okay, here's what shots I need, here's what I need to say on camera, here's how I'm going to edit it? How long did that entire process take for you to figure out what exactly you wanted for TeamAZ TV?
I mean, I think it was, you know, 10, 20 videos in, you know, you shoot the thing forward, and then I started, once I realized I could like put a picture in picture, I was like, oh yeah, I could do front and a back, you know, and then like you just start, like, stuff clicks and you see stuff and you're like, ooh, I could do that, you know, and then I'm ADD, so it's tough because you have to like lay out a plot and a storyline, and it has to have a beginning and it has to have an end, and it has to like, and so I'm getting good at it now. Now it's like it's easy because it's just kind of part, but sometimes I put too much into it, you know, and then it's distracting. And so it's been tough. It's been tough, but it is fun to do, and it's fun to have see the results at the end of the day and all the positive feedback. I just posted one today and literally posted it. We've been so busy, I hadn't even looked at any of it. And I don't even have time to comment on a lot of the stuffs. So I'm looking at it now. Ooh, it's doing good. 4,800 views.
It's doing good.
4 hours and 45 minutes. That's awesome. But
That's not bad. We'll take it.
But the dirt thing just went off, and I have a bunch of new subscribers, and I haven't been posting a lot because I've been so busy doing what I do, racing and stuff. So, you know, it's nice to get a little some good feedback, and the YouTube thing helps during the week kind of keep me involved in the racing thing, because I don't get to do the hands-on working on race car stuff. Dave and Lacey to kind of take care of that. Their shop's a couple hours away, so I don't work on the race cars as much. So that's kind of part of why I started the YouTube thing, you know, just kind of keeping me more involved and getting the team some more exposure. And, you know, I think it's pretty cool. I honestly think it helped get me to Australia. Those guys, he was really big into the film and loved the whole thing. And it's just like documenting everything, you know, like, you know, with the Ford, you know, we go back and, you know, they'll like, hey, the thing sounded great, you know, and I'll go download the footage, go show them where it's doing this and coughing. And, you know, like, so the GoPros have helped out a lot. It's a lot of work to keep up with all the storage aspect of it, and downloading footage and categorizing and organizing and saving. And so, but I'm learning how to not do as much, you know, like there was nights, you know, like where at the Chili Bowl, it was 100 gigabytes of a day because I had so many cameras rolling. And so then, but if you only run, you know, minimal cameras, I can get it down to where it's like 30 gigs of memory or 40, you know. So that's lately what I've been working on, trying to downsize all the extra bullshit. But
well, you mentioned two things I want to hit on. The Dirt series came out, and if I'm not mistaken, you were in the season finale. And
yes.
I've kind of heard Justin talk about what that's done for him from the social media aspect. And you're a little bit more active, I would say, than Justin is, especially on the YouTube side. So not only what was it like to have the flow cameras follow you around for a little while, but also what has it done for you, your career, and all your social media?
It's definitely, I feel like it was 1,000 subscribers overnight, like in the last week since it played that I went from 13 to 14.5. So I feel like it helped me on my YouTube stuff. And it's really neat to get the positive feedback. I didn't get to race Port Royal, but I sat up in the trailer and sold shirts. And, you know, just everybody knows T-Mez now. And I think, you know, everybody watches Flow. but you don't always watch anything but what you're involved in. So people around Port Royal, they watch Port Royal stuff, Anthony Macri and all the PA Posse stuff. And so they might not catch USAC stuff. And if they do, I might not be running good that night, and so it's definitely gained a lot of fans as far as that goes. And I think it's just going to keep multiplying because they keep playing it, and people keep watching. More people watch every day, and so it's been really cool. And just to be a part of like a real production of some things, and you kind of circle back around. I feel like a little bit of why I was in it was because of the YouTube thing. Me, kind of going out on a limb and doing my YouTube channel and filming myself, because in the beginning it was really hard to just do it and talk to a camera at the racetrack. Like, I feel like I'm a cool kid, and I don't want to be walking around with a pin pocket and a pin case and my book bag, and but if you want to do a YouTube channel, you got to talk to the GoPro and just kind of suck it up, and sometimes that isn't always that, because people just looking at it like, what is this guy talking to? Like I just walk to the end of the table to the car and just start talking to a camera, and like running through with my one wheel, talking to my camera, or in my car talking to the camera, and people are like, huh? T-Mez, is T-Mez talking to me? Like, nope, doing my vlog.
Well, you're a busy guy. I don't want to take up too much more of your time, but for the race fans all over the world, I say all over the world because you might be going back to Australia. Fingers crossed for you, because I know how much you loved it. What else can we see you doing this year?
Oh, you're going to see me in the Midget. Hopefully I get to do some wing races, and, definitely check out Flow and the USAC stuff. Go check out Dirt. I got a t-shirt deal, shoptmez.com. My new slider die t-shirt. Got it in a couple colors, some hats and stuff. But man, I appreciate the phone call, Drake. And I did just get my kids an hour ago. I've been on the phone for an hour, so they're ready to scream in here. I cannot believe it's been this quiet. Madeline is like gold. My girlfriend. Thank you, Madeline. As always, I never think Madeline. She doesn't ever.
You're the only person who doesn't think their girlfriend in the interviews. I just threw you under the bus.
No, that's good. I'm glad you did that, because I need to start thanking her more, because she's a big part of this deal. And, talking to all my fans, selling shirts, looking as good as she does.
Well, don't feel bad, because for a couple of months at least, when Justin would win, like, Justin wouldn't win when it was Christy only in victory lane. It was always when I had to fill in for Christy, and Justin would run back to me to go thank his wife and kids. So
That's awesome.
Yeah, I'll give you the Justin Grant treatment next time I have to interview you.
Yes, do it. Remind me.
We don't want you getting in trouble, but again, I know you're a busy guy, so thank you so much for your time.
Awesome. Thank you, Drake. And this was fun. Good luck with the show, and I will see you soon.
Absolutely. That's T-Mez, Thomas Meseraull on Non-Wing Worldwide. Once again, thank you so much to T-Mez, Thomas Meseraull, for his time today and joining us here on Non-Wing Worldwide. With that, we'll move into our racing roundup segment. It was a pretty slow week in the news department for non-wing sprint cars and midgets, but the one ticket we do have is the AMSOIL USAC National. Sprint cars have actually added a date to their calendar this season. If you remember back earlier in the year, the National Series was planning on going to Devil's Bowl Speedway in Mesquite, Texas. Unfortunately, that got rained out, but they have rescheduled it for September the 7th. That's a Thursday, September the 7th. The AMSOIL USAC National Sprint cars will head over to Devil's Bowl Speedway. But a lot of news when it comes to non-wing worldwide. First off, we will continue to have our stickers for sale during the entire USAC season in the USAC merchandise trailer. So if you're at a race, make sure to pick up a sticker, or you can buy one at nonwing.com if you're not going to make it to any of the USAC races. Also, some of you may have seen nonwing.com/TV is now your place to find all sorts of non-wing sprint car and midget content. We have non-wing worldwide videos, so full podcasts and other things we decide to edit out of episodes. TeamAZ TV, our guest today, he is featured prominently on there. Zach Pretorius, Todd Hobson, and Martin Motorsport all on there as well. So give that a look when you're on nonwing.com. One last news item when it comes to non-wing worldwide, and we're always trying to make the podcast better for everybody, a better listening experience, and sometimes taking something away is what you might have to do to make something better. So for now, at least, we're going to take away the race results segment. It took up a lot of time, but worry not, because we're planning on having all the non-wing sprint car and midget races from all over the globe, their results on nonwing.com. So be on the lookout for that here in the coming days and weeks. As previously mentioned, we're not having race results on the show today. So with that, we quickly get to jump to the upcoming racing schedule on Friday, June the 23rd. And as we know, Friday is always a big day for racing. We'll kick it off at the Madison International Speedway in Oregon, Wisconsin with the USAC Silver Crown Series at the Dairyland 100. Jacksonville Speedway in Jacksonville, Illinois will host round number 2 of Illinois Midget Week for the POWRi National Midgets. Muller Raceway Park in Williamsburg, Ohio has the USAC Midwest Thunder Speed 2 Midgets. Circle City Raceway in Indianapolis, Indiana will have the General Tire All-Star Circuit Champions TQ Midgets. In Kona, Ohio at Raceway 7, we'll have the Rush Sprint Car Series. Eagle Valley Speedway in Jim Falls, Wisconsin will have the Upper Midwest Renegade Traditional Sprint Car Series. And then in local action on Friday night, we'll have the Bloomington Speedway in Bloomington, Indiana with their local non-wing 410 sprint cars, and the Gas City I-69 Speedway in Gas City, Indiana will have non-wing 410 sprint cars as well. On Saturday, June the 24th, the AMSOIL USAC National Sprint Cars will be at Wilmot Raceway in Wilmot, Wisconsin. Macon Speedway in Macon, Illinois hosts another round of the POWRi National Midgets Illinois Midget Week. Valley Speedway in Green Valley, Missouri has the USAC Midwest Wingless Racing Association. Bakersfield Speedway in Bakersfield, California has the AMSOIL USAC CRA Sprints. Tri-State Speedway in Hobbs-Town, Indiana has the MSCS Sprint Cars. Silver Bullet Speedway in Owensdale, Michigan has the Great Lakes Traditional Sprints. Vado Speedway Park in Vado, New Mexico has the New Mexico Motor Racing Association in conjunction with the POWRi 360 non-wing sprint cars. The Merced Speedway in Merced, California has the USAC Western States Midgets. Spin River Speedway in Canton, Illinois has the POWRi Illinois Midget Racing Association Speed 2 Midgets. Dillon Motor Speedway in Dillon, South Carolina has the USAC Eastern Focus Midgets. Rushville County Fairgrounds in Rushville, Indiana will have the All-Star Circuit of Champions TQ Midgets. We talked about the AMSOIL USAC National and Sprint Cars being at the Wilmot Raceway in Wilmot, Wisconsin on Saturday, with the Autometer Wisconsin Wingless Series will join them as well. Sharon Speedway in Hartford, Ohio has the Rush Sprint Car Series. ABC Raceway in Ashland, Wisconsin has the Northern Renegade Sprint Series. Cedar Lake Speedway in New Richmond, Wisconsin has the Upper Midwest Renegade Traditional Sprint Series. And then on to local action on Saturday, starting at the Lincoln Park Speedway in Putnamville, Indiana with non-wing 410 sprint cars. Paragon Speedway in Paragon, Indiana also has 410 non-wing sprint cars. The Ventura Raceway in Ventura, California has their traditional VRA sprints along with the VRA senior sprints. Placerville Speedway in Placerville, California has a rare local wingless spec sprint race. The Antioch Speedway in Antioch, California will also have wingless spec sprints on Saturday. Not a lot of racing on Sunday, but some good racing nonetheless. The Angel Park Speedway in Sun Prairie, Wisconsin's got a loaded show with the AMSOIL USAC National Sprint Cars and the Badger Speed 2 Midgets. The Lincoln Fairgrounds in Lincoln, Illinois hosts the final round of Illinois Midget Week for the POWRi National Midgets. And Halver Line Speedway in Proctor, Minnesota has the Northern Renegade Sprint Car Series. No racing on Monday, June the 26th. Racing will fire back up at the Bartholomew County Fairgrounds in Columbus, Indiana with the All-Star Circuit of Champions TQ Midgets on Tuesday, June 27th. And to round out our week on Wednesday, the Sharon Speedway in Hartford, Ohio will host the Rush Sprint Car Series. That's all we got for you on our upcoming racing schedule from around the United States this week on Non-Wing Worldwide. That's all we got for you on this episode of Non-Wing Worldwide. Once again, thank you to Thomas Meseraull for joining us, and thank you for joining us as well. I'm Drake York, and we'll see you in the next episode.